retreat has been used by the United States Army since the Revolutionary War. Historically sounded at sunset, it was used to summon the rank and file to their quarters and to notify guards to start challenging until sunrise. The retreat ceremony you're about to witness serves a dual purpose. It signals the end of the duty day and pays respect to our flag. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and render the appropriate honors as the first Cavalry band sounds retreat into the colors. Welcome to this afternoon's program. Please stand for the invocation provided by the First Cavalry Chaplain, Chaplain J. West.
75 years ago, our ancestors were engaged around the globe in the fight against all the enemies we have seen today. This week, we gather in the spirit of the day. We honor the legacy bestowed upon us by that greatest generation. Today, especially, we want to pause and give you thanks for the opportunity to remember history and to find a right place in the world. I knew in each of us are willing to give little attention to what leaders are doing. We may reserve our service to the new chapters of worship, of service, and of love. Finally, O God, remind us of why we serve, as we together will.
This afternoon, we will journey back in time through the formation of the United States Cavalry and the history of the 1st Cavalry Regiment and the 1st Cavalry Division. We will see the troopers in uniform and with equipment from periods throughout the proud heritage of America's first team. From the American Revolution, the cavalry has played a major role in the defense of our nation. The cavalry was initially organized into 3 types of mounted command: heavy, light, and dragoon. Each varied in mission, armament, and weight of mount or vehicle. Heavy cavalry was used for shock effect in battle. Light cavalry was the reconnaissance, screening, and messenger arm of battle, while dragoons were trained to fight on foot or horseback to counter the enemy in man-to-man combat. For the first 50 years of our country's history, mounted organizations in the regular army existed for brief periods, and only as very small elements within the army. 1836 brought Western expansion into Indian-controlled lands and growing hostilities between the United States and Mexico. Congress authorized the original 3 permanent mounted units, the 1st and 2nd Regiment of Dragoons and the Regiment of Mounted Rifles. Their mission was to patrol the newly acquired western frontier and keep peace with Mexico, a peace that would not last. By 1846, these 2 nations were at war. The Mexican War saw the first real use of the cavalry in armed combat since the Revolution. Dragoon regiments took part in all major campaigns of the war, from Palo Alto to Chapultepec. The soldier to your right is wearing a 2nd Dragoon Regiment uniform. He's equipped with a Model 1840 Heavy Dragoon Saber, nicknamed Old Wristbreaker. This soldier is mounted on the Grimsley saddle, standard issue for the time. For the cavalry, 1848 to 1860 were years marked by a succession of marches, expeditions, and campaigns against the Native American Indians. The Army also provided protection for westbound settlers and wagon trains while exploring and surveying the uncharted frontier. The American Civil War is called the Terrible Golden Age. Not fighting a foreign foe, we turned our cavalry sabers and pistols against each other. The Army only had 6 cavalry regiments before the war. Of the 6 regimental commanders, 4 joined the Confederacy. During the early years of the Civil War, the Federal cavalry lagged behind the Confederate cavalry in both leadership and tactics. The Union had to call upon volunteers from the states to serve as cavalrymen to augment the cavalry regiments. This trooper is dressed as a private from Bravo Company, 5th United States Cavalry, and the oldest regiment in the division. The 5th participated in the battles of Gettysburg, Gaines Mill, and Appomattox. The 1863 uniform is complete with the Model 1860 Light Cavalry Saber, an Army Colt revolver, and Model 1859 Sharps carbine. His horse is saddled with the Model 1859 McClellan saddle. A variation of this saddle is still used in today. At the end of the Civil War, returning soldiers on both sides looked towards the west to expand the western frontier and look for a new beginning. The Indian nations, however, occupied this land. A clash between the two cultures was inevitable, and the U.S. cavalry was placed between them. The Army of the American West was made of Civil War veterans, new immigrants, and free African Americans and veterans from the African American Civil War regiments. Known by the Indians as Buffalo Soldiers, the 9th Cavalry distinguished itself in a number of engagements, in New Mexico, Montana, and against the Comanche in the Southwest. The trooper is wearing an 1874 issue field uniform, including a canvas prairie cartridge belt, Model 1873 Trapdoor 4570 Springfield carbine, and the Model 1873 Colt revolver. Fighting a war with Spain, engaging insurgents in the Philippines, participating in the Boxer Rebellion in China. The cavalry participated in all of these campaigns. This trooper is wearing the uniform of the Spanish-American War. It was during the actions in the tropical climates that the Army began to replace the traditional blue uniforms with khaki. He carries an 1896 Craig carbine, the first smokeless powder repeating firearm adopted by the Army. While in Cuba and the Philippines, the cavalrymen served dismounted. Early in the past century, conflict once again erupted on our southern border. Mexico was plunged into a series of upheavals. An array of revolutionary leaders emerged, among them Pancho Villa. With dreams of controlling Mexico, Villa attacked United States soil, provoking a U.S. response while tensions escalated. On March 6, 1916, Villa and his troops attacked the town of Columbus, New Mexico. Directed by President Wilson and under the command of Brigadier General Blackjack Pershing, the cavalry crushed the Villistas and halted any further incursions on American soil. This last major horse-mounted cavalry battle became known as the Punitive Expedition. A number of future commanders made names for themselves during the expedition, including Captain George Patton and Major Robert Howes, the first Cavalry Division commander. This troop represents a soldier from the 8th Cavalry Regiment and is wearing the khaki uniform, first adopted in 1899. This standard issue included a new .45 caliber Model 1911 semi-automatic pistol and Model 1903 Springfield rifle. The horse is equipped with a russet-colored 1904 model saddle, a variation of the original McClellan saddle. The Punitive Expedition lasted through 1919. It was overshadowed by the war in Europe. The days of horse-mounted cavalry were quickly coming to an end. In 1921, the 1st Cavalry Division was organized. Its mission was to patrol the U.S.-Mexico border on horseback. In the 1930s, mechanization was rapidly replacing the beloved horse. However, at the beginning of World War II, the division had still not yet converted to army. Called into combat in the Pacific Theater, the 1st Cavalry Division once again fought dismounted. Receiving its baptism of fire, the 1st Cavalry Division compiled an impressive record on the Admiralty Islands and during the liberation of the Philippines. The 1st Cavalry's flying column sliced through 100 miles of enemy territory, reaching Manila and freeing the internees at Santo Tomas. The division's performance in the Philippines earned it the nickname of First Team, the first Allied unit in Manila. This soldier is a properly outfitted trooper of the 12th Cavalry Regiment during World War II. He is dressed in the HVT uniform worn by troops in the Pacific Theater. He is equipped with the M1 Brand 30 caliber rifle. At the end of the war in the Pacific, the 1st Cavalry Division was first in Tokyo to perform occupation force duty in Japan. In 1950, the 1st team deployed to South Korea in reaction to North Korea's invasion. The 1st Cavalry Division made the first amphibious landing in the Korean conflict. After stabilizing the Busan perimeter in the face of heavy North Korean resistance, Task Force 777 pushed out of the Busan perimeter and headed north. The North Korean resistance was weakened, and the 1st team was able to march north and capture the capital city of North Korea, first in Pyongyang. Though the war was thought to be over, the Chinese intervention across the Yalu River placed the division back on the defensive and delayed the end of the war for several years. The spring offensive of 1951 put the 1st team back on the attack. Division troopers began to take ground and move north in the seesaw war of attrition. Names like Old Baldy, Iron Triangle, and the Jamestown Line have gone down in the storied history of the 1st Cavalry Division. The division fought for 18 months in continuous combat operations in Korea before returning to Japan. The soldier before you represents a trooper of the 82nd Field Artillery Regiment. He carries the M1 30 caliber carbine and wears the uniform of a 1950s soldier. From 1944 to 1965, the 1st Cavalry Division conducted continuous operations in the Pacific and Asia. The division returned home in 1965, just long enough for reorganization and a new mission. Within 90 days of becoming air mobile, the Air Cav entered combat as the first fully committed division of the Vietnam War. The division's baptism by fire as air mobile came when the 1st and 2nd Battalions of the 7th Cavalry Regiment conducted an air mobile insertion into an obscure valley called the Yam Dray. This was the first major test of air mobile units in combat and validated the techniques of air mobile operation. The trademark of the 1st team in Vietnam. We are honored to have with us today troopers from that battle. This Sky Trooper, a member of the 7th Cavalry Regiment, is complete with jungle fatigues and an M16 rifle. During the Pleiku campaign, the Air Mobile Cav faced its first real test. As always, the 1st team rose to the occasion, did their duty, and was recognized for their accomplishments with the Presidential Unit Citation. Other 1st team operations in Vietnam, like Operation Pershing, the Tet Counteroffensive, and the relief of Khe Sanh, took their place in the annals of history alongside Gettysburg and Manila. The Cav again became embroiled in international conflict, deploying to the southwest as part of joint force participation in Operation Desert Shield in August 1990. The 1st team initially focused on defending Saudi Arabia against potential aggression from Iraqi forces. In the desert, Cav troopers were preparing for an Iraqi attack. President George H.W. Bush, with the backing of United Nations Security Council Resolution 678, delivered an ultimatum to Iraq: get out of Kuwait or suffer the consequences. Iraq refused to free Kuwait, and a devastating U.S.-led air war commenced. To open the way for U.S. Air Force strikes, Army Apaches and Kiowas were sent on deep strikes to scout out and destroy enemy anti-aircraft sites. Blackhawks were formed like pack mules, hauling troops and supplies throughout the battlefield. While the air campaign fixed Iraqi formations, ground forces moved out from their assembly areas and prepared to deliver the decisive blow. The first team attacked with lightning speed 100 miles deep into enemy territory, identifying and destroying Iraqi positions and equipment. On February 26, the commander of Allied forces, General Norman Schwarzkopf, directed, "Send in the first team, destroy the Republican Guard, we're going home." Pausing only to review, the 1st Cavalry Division charged through the enemy's defenses, swiping deep into Iraqi's rear area, 200 miles deep in just 24 hours. Before you stand 2 soldiers in desert camouflage uniforms. They represent the 8th Cavalry Regiment and 27th Maine Support Battalion. They are equipped with the M9 pistol and M16A2 rifle used during Desert Storm. The Gulf War also marks another first for our division, as the first female soldiers participated in combat operations. Once they returned from the desert, the division became the largest in the Army. Over 16,000 active duty soldiers called themselves cavalry troopers. America's first team was called back into action in April 1998, not as combatants, but as peacekeepers. The first team would be the first CONUS unit deployed to Bosnia, another first team first. Once deployed to Bosnia, their mission was to enforce the Dayton Peace Accord. Performed by the CAV troopers included presence patrols, weapons storage site inspections, acting as mediators, and providing force protection. This soldier represents a trooper of Headquarters and Headquarters Company, 1st Cavalry Division, and is wearing the woodland pattern battle dress uniform and LBE field gear worn during the division's participation in Bosnia. After September 11, 2001, the first team answered the call of President George W. Bush to be ready. First Cav soldiers deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan in support of operations to fight terrorism and aggression, as well as Camp X-Ray in Guantanamo Bay, assisting to guard detained terrorists. The beginning of the 21st century saw the first team transform into a digital force. First Team troopers defended Washington, D.C. and Crawford, Texas during the period following the 9/11 attacks. From the beginning of the global war on terrorism, the 1st Cavalry Division and its brigades continued the tradition of service by deploying 6 times to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. The first team deployed 1st Battalion, 227th Aviation Regiment, equipped with Apache Longbow attack helicopters and support from the 68th Chemical Company. These soldiers were integral to the removal of Saddam Hussein's regime and the liberation of the Iraqi people. In January 2004, the entire division deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. This deployment began the U.S.'s Army's largest troop rotation since World War II. The division at one point had more than 39,000 troops assigned. The deployment would include securing Baghdad, engaging al-Qaeda and anti-Iraqi forces, the first free elections in Iraq, providing training to Iraqi security forces, and supporting the people. The division transferred authority to the 3rd Infantry Division in February 2005. 2006, the division relieved the 4th Infantry Division in Baghdad. Operation Iraqi Freedom 0608 witnessed the division implement the surge strategy. During the surge, the division had 6 combat brigades under its command. The division headquarters, along with the attached brigades, significantly reduced sectarian violence and thwarted the designs of Al-Qaeda. This soldier represents a trooper of the 2nd Battalion, 5th Cavalry Regiment, and is wearing the desert camouflage uniform, interceptor body armor, and carries an M16A2 rifle. After a brief rest, the headquarters deployed in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom 0910. During the deployment, the 1st team transitioned authority of all operations to the Iraqi government, thus signifying the end of Operation Iraqi Freedom. This soldier represents a trooper of the 1st Battalion, 9th Cavalry Regiment, and is wearing the Army combat uniform, improved outer tactical vest, and carries an M4 carbine. Iraqi Freedom officially transitioned to Operation New Dawn on September 1st, 2010. The 1st Cavalry Division soldiers were among the last American troops to leave in December of 2011. In May 2011, the 1st Cavalry Division became the first heavy U.S. Army division to deploy to Afghanistan. America's 1st team assumed responsibility of Regional Command East as Combined Joint Task Force 1 and conducted full-spectrum operations throughout 14 provinces. In November of 2012, the 4th Armored Brigade Combat Team Longbow deployed in support of Regional Command East with the mission to advise and assist Afghan National Security Forces. In August of 2013, 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team Blackjack deployed to Afghanistan supporting brigade elements in 2 regional commands and 12 forward operating bases. In June of 2014, the division headquarters deployed to assume command of Regional Command South in Kandahar, Afghanistan. The division headquarters transitioned to Regional Command of Operation Enduring Freedom to the Resolute Support, Train, Advice, and Assist Command South. Members of the headquarters staff successfully transitioned the TAC South mission to the 7th Infantry Division. This soldier represents a trooper of the Headquarters and Headquarters Company, 1st Cavalry Division, and is wearing a multi-cam uniform, improved outer tactical vest, and carries an M4 carbine. The 1st team has had continuous deployments over the last few years. In September of 2016, the division headquarters deployed to assume command of the United States National Support Element in Bagram, Afghanistan, while the 1st Cavalry Division Sustainment Brigade followed shortly and assumed responsibility as the Resolute Support Sustainment Brigade. February 2017, Grey Wolf deployed in Kuwait to support Operation Spartan Shield. June 2017, Blackjack deployed to the Republic of South Korea to deter North Korean aggression. October 2017, Air Cavalry Brigade deployed to Europe to deter Russian aggression. May 2018, Iron Horse deployed to Europe to train with NATO allies. And most recently, in February 2019, the division headquarters deployed to TAC South in Afghanistan to advise Afghan National Security Forces. distinction all over the world, from Iraq and Kuwait to Korea and Europe. The 1st Cavalry Division continues to stand